Declassified. PA/HO Department of State. EO 12958 as amended. June 21st, 2006. Department of State. Memorandum of Conversation. Date: June 13, 1969. Subject: Kurdish-Assyrian Appeal for U.S. Assistance. Participants: Mr. William Yonan, President, Assyrian-American Federation. Mr. Sam Andrews, Secretary, Assyrian-American Federation. Mr. Zaya Malik Ismail, Representative of the Assyrians in Syria. Dr. Perley, Attorney for the Assyrian-American Federation. Mr. Shafiq, Qazzaz, Representative of the Kurdish Revolution in the U.S. Mr. Qazzaz stated that the principal purpose of his visit was to deliver a letter from Mullah Mustafa Barzani to Secretary of State William P. Rogers. The letter appeals to the United States to provide assistance to the Kurds and the Assyrians in their struggle with the Iraqi government. Mr. Seeley accepted the letter and assured the gentleman that it would be brought to the Secretary's attention. Related approximately the same story they had given to Mr. Davis on May 29. Mr. Qazzaz added a new dimension to the problem by emphasizing that the Kurds felt compelled to take decisive action against the Iraqi government. He said, "It is more imperative now than at any time in the past 8 years that the Kurds attack the IPC oil installations and interrupt the flow of oil." He noted that the oil income is vital to the Iraqi government. If this income is denied the GOI, the economy will suffer a severe blow and the government itself will be weakened to its very foundation. The GOI will lack money to purchase arms, and its war effort will be severely impaired. Mr. Qazzaz asked for assistance from the United States government. He was not very specific, but he said the Kurds needed money to buy arms and other supplies. He alluded to the suffering of the Kurds in the north, malnutrition among the children, and lack of medical supplies. He said that if the Kurds were provided with essential commodities, they would handle the Iraqis by themselves and would not need further help. He said 25,000 Kurds are now under arms. In response to a question about Iranian and Israeli assistance, he acknowledged help from these sources, but said it was insufficient. Much later in the conversation, when it became apparent that no U.S. assistance was forthcoming, Mr. Qazzaz noted that if the Kurds succeeded in gaining limited autonomy or independence, they would not forget who had refused them aid when they needed it. Mr. Seeley told the visitors quite explicitly that the U.S. government does not get into this type of clandestine operation. Mr. Yonan alluded to the landings of the Marines in Lebanon in 1958. Mr. Seeley pointed out that times have changed and that the attitudes of the American public and American government are quite different on the subject of foreign adventures. The gentleman apparently understood quite clearly that clandestine assistance from the United States was not forthcoming. Mr. Seeley asked Mr. Qazzaz about assistance for needy Kurds from international organizations. Mr. Qazzaz said that the ICRC had provided help to the Kurds through the Iranian Red Crescent. He said that the American Red Cross had not been helpful, and he felt that that door was entirely closed to help from that source. Considering the Kurdish question from a humanitarian viewpoint, Mr. Qazzaz said that the Kurds had made an appeal to Uttant to have their problem brought before the Human Rights Commission. Apparently, nothing resulted from this effort, only limited autonomy and cultural integrity. He could not vouch for their demands in another 5 or 10 years. In other words, the Kurds are completely fed up. They have absolutely no trust in the Iraqi Arabs, and they are becoming less inclined towards compromise. The Assyrian visitors stated that the Assyrians in Kurdish areas have joined the Kurds in their rebellion against the Iraqi government. Assyrians fight side by side with the Kurds, and one of Idris Barzani's bodyguards is an Assyrian. Idris is Mullah's son and is a field commander of the Kurdish forces. Mr. Seeley noted that Assyrian participation in the insurgency entails a number of risks for the Assyrian community as a whole in Iraq, which is more exposed. Mr. Seeley assured the gentleman that the United States is sympathetic towards the suffering of the Kurds and the Assyrians, We do not, however, support an independent Kurdish-Assyrian state, and we are not prepared to support this objective, either overtly or covertly. He added that the United States has many interests in the area, and had to take those interests into consideration also. In conclusion, Mr. Sealy said that he thought that this had been a useful exchange, and said he would be pleased to talk to the gentleman again at any time. As the gentlemen were leaving, Dr. Perley took Mr. Baas aside and said that he really wouldn't look with favor upon an independent Kurdish state, because he knew that the Muslim Kurds at that point would immediately turn on the Christian Assyrians. Central Intelligence Group. Country: Lebanon/Iraq. Subject: Kurdish-Assyrian Cooperation, Russian aid. Date: April 1947. Yosef Malik, an Assyrian Catholic, Chaldean, wrote an article several months ago, which appeared in the publication of the Assyrian Community in Chicago. In his article, Malik advocated an independent Assyrian state in northern Iraq, in which Assyrians and Kurds could collaborate. It has been reported that on 8 March, Malik conferred with Dr. Kamiran Badr Khan of Beirut, eminent Kurdish leader. They discussed Malik's plan and current Kurdish-Iranian relations. The two men called at the Sovist legation in Beirut the following morning and met again on 10 March. Malik is reported to have stated that the Kurds have lost all hope of getting American or British support and must therefore turn to Russia for aid. The Assyrians are in the same predicament, according to Malik, and should pull together with the Kurds. Malik said that the effort should be made to help the Kurdish leader, Mullah Mustafa Barzani, so as to prevent the collapse of his movement. Both of these documents that were presented were trying to help the Assyrian nation, but their tactics were unsuccessful. Is what Dr. Perley predicted 50 years ago manifesting? We'll let you be the judge.